We're going to be lords. We're royalty. We're going to have the allodial title. We're going to have the rights of the land, of the home, of our wives, our children, our slaves, our properties, our cattle, so on and so forth. We're not going to be subjected to payments anymore.
Grace and peace be multiplied unto you through the knowledge of God and of our Lord, according as his divine power hath given unto us all things that pertain unto life and godliness, to the knowledge of him that hath called us to glory and virtue, whereby are given unto us exceeding great and precious promises, that by these ye might be partakers of the divine nature, having escaped the corruption that is in the world through lust. And beside this, giving all diligence, and to your faith virtue, and to virtue knowledge, and to knowledge temperance, and to temperance patience, and to patience godliness, and to godliness brotherly kindness, and to brotherly kindness charity. For if these things be in you and abound, they make you that ye shall neither be barren nor unfruitful in the knowledge of our Lord. But he that lacketh these things is blind, and cannot see afar off, and hath forgotten that he was purged from his old sins. Wherefore the rather, brethren, give diligence to make your calling and election sure. For if ye do these things, ye shall never fall.
The teacher, they would say, how did you make
All right. Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rokapadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders, GMS, who rule well, teach well, being great example to his younger brothers, and peace and blessings, salutations to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful lake, the believers and listeners whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. And what we're going to get into this morning, just talk a little war talk. Something that's been hot in the news, is pretty much what's going on over there in Kazakhstan, which we know Kazakhstan was a former, country of the USSR. All right, it was once part, of Russia, before, you pretty much had to collapse in the early 1990s. And so what we seeing happening is civil unrest. All right, it ain't just regular people protesting about gas prices. All right, more than likely, it's a CIA operative. All right, CIA operation. That's funded. Between NATO, the CIA, the Brits. Because the equivalent. All right, to the American CIA, you have the Russian. The Britain MI6. That's where you get your James Bond movies. He's a MI6, which is equivalent to the American CIA. All right. So between the MI6, of Britain and CIA of America, and special forces and, intelligence operatives of the NATO, you can best believe they have something to do you know, with that uprising, you know, and that and these back and forth that we seeing between, all right, so-called uh, Kazakhstan militants, all right, and the Kazakhstan police force, you know, and government, all right. So I'm gonna play a little bit of it dealing with this guy. Let's name his off-grid desert foreman with Paul and Adrian. You know, he does, you know, pretty good coverage. You know, he's American, but he's very non-biased. You know, he calls America out. You know, a lot of people that follow him, you know, they try to say that he's anti-American, but you know, he's just speaking the truth. And when you study geopolitics, America be on some BS, man. You know, America be on some BS. All right, and he just calls it out. Now, let's see if a brother can put Revelation 11 and 14. And I'm gonna get ready to go to this video. Try to get to the part.
Make an A on your final exam. I said I studied. You know, they thought I was cheating, but it didn't really interest me. So anyway, English is my first language. You know, hopefully it is. But I do have trouble pronouncing a lot of words, especially foreign words. That's just the way it is. You know, you can watch the Sasquatch massacre the English language and every other language on the planet. But anyway, a lot of
Ain't that shit there. All right, now this from brother Yashima tribe of Judah. Revelation 11 and 14 said the second war was past, and behold, the third war cometh quickly. All right, this third world's war. All right, and it's coming, you know, upon the earth quickly. You see, is, you know, we see, you know, the push, you know, for different mandates and restrictions, as we see, you know, this man has pretty much, you know, made it to where he's justifying putting a device under your skin, you know, in the name of public health. All right, we know, all right, that it's close, man. As we get closer to the MOTB, all right, World War III is right with it. You know, all these prophecies are building up simultaneously, all right, in the earth. Now, I got it queued up to the point I want. So I'm gonna let them talk probably about 10 minutes, maybe, you know, and we'll do a little commentary on what's happening and what's going down. And then I also have another clip to show you how, you know, the CIA, all right, operates, you know, in the earth, you know, with these different what they call terrorist groups, you know, terrorist state, Islamic states, and all these different things. Well, we're going to see how the CIA, all right, has a hand in these things, man. You see, the CIA, just as we went over the other day, just as they created characters like Tupac and, you know, these different celebrities and entertainers, you know, they also have their hand in these conflicts, man. The CIA is a very, all right, very active, you know, branch of Esau's, all right, left hand witchcraft, man. You know, let me see.
crazy things happening in the world. So what has happened in the last week is they've had a kind of a revolution in Kazakhstan. And I reported on this. This has been going on for about a week, that the Kazakhstan's government raised the price of propane and other commodities in the country, and evidently the people were rioting. But then we had other news that said this was a coup, that powers from outside of Kazakhstan was involved, NATO, the CIA, MI6. No one really knows the origin of this revolution, this color revolution, but there are reports now that there now are armed groups in Kazakhstan financed from outside powers. They have made a video declaring that they are the insurgency in Kazakhstan. They do have automatic weapons. Over 800 Kazakhstan police and security personnel have been wounded by these extremists, these terrorists. Right now in Kazakhstan, they are being financed and trained from outside sources. Many Middle Eastern mercenaries are in Kazakhstan fighting against the Kazakhstan government. And a lot of people don't know that Russia did not invade Kazakhstan. This is not a Russian invasion in Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan is a member of the CSTO, which is like a mini NATO. There are 4 or 5 members of the Collective Security Organization, and they requested, the president of Kazakhstan requested that Russia and the CSO come in to help them restore peace to their country. So Russia did not invade. This is not a Russian invasion. They are peacekeepers that were brought in under the request of the legitimate government of Kazakhstan to squash the riots. The gunfire and the fighting is still going on in Kazakhstan right now. They're still fighting on the street. So far, hundreds of protesters have been killed. Thousands, I think it's up to 3,000 or 4,000 protesters have been arrested. Many of these protesters are foreign agents. They are not citizens of Kazakhstan. They are mercenaries. They're from the Middle East and different parts of the country. They were sent in to disrupt the government and to take the government over. But what happened is Russia responded so quickly. Russia moved so many troops into Kazakhstan within 12 hours that it surprised these terrorists. And nobody expected for Russia to put that many troops into Kazakhstan within a 12-hour period. They have now flew in over 100 flights of Russia's largest transport planes delivering troops and equipment. Pretty much the country is stabilized now, but there's ongoing gun battles all throughout the country. There are an estimated 20,000 of these militants from other countries fighting the government of Kazakhstan, trying to take it over like they did in Ukraine in 2014. So a lot of people have criticized what's going on in Kazakhstan, that Russia is massacring thousands of protesters. Folks, that's not true. There is no videos that have surfaced yet on Twitter, on TikTok, on any other social media that Russia is mowing down thousands or hundreds of protesters in the streets. There are no videos of dead protesters piled up in the streets, folks. That is false information. I cannot confirm that. All you see is soldiers shooting, but they're not showing you what they're shooting. And like I said, everybody has a cell phone. Everybody in the world, even people in the most remote parts of the world, have a cell phone. And they have Twitter and TikTok and Instagram and all these other social media apps. When something happens around the world, people post it on the internet immediately, folks. Find me one video and leave it in a link that you see dead protesters piled up in Kazakhstan. It's not there because that's a false story. Russia is not massacring thousands of protesters. You show me the videos. Show me the video. Show me your intel. It's not there. Now, hundreds, yes, hundreds have been killed. And many of these, like I said, are foreign mercenaries. But Kazakhstan's president has arrested their chief security personnel. Let me see if I can read this for you. This is coming from RT television. Ex-security chief arrested on suspicion of high treason. Karim Masivmo, the former chief of Kazakhstan's National Security Committee, was arrested earlier this week along with other unidentified suspects as part of the probe into high treason, the security agency said on Saturday. So they have arrested the top guy in the government for partially organizing this revolt against the government. So
all right, so just to kind of sum it up, you know, what he going into is you had, you know, the cover story. Because one thing about the media, you always gonna hear a cover story. All right, they say citizens of Kazakhstan, all right, are protesting because of, you know, rise in gas prices, you know, and that's the cover story. So when people look at the conflict that's going on, they equate it to gas prices. All right. But there's nothing but a CIA cover story, you know, because the people that are going against the government, all right, these are not regular citizens. He's going to go into it, you know, and then he just told you that the head of security, all right, for Kazakhstan, all right, it has been arrested and detained because of what? He been flipped. Like when you watch these James Bond movies and these double agent movies, this is how Esau really gets down. All right. All he need is to flip the head guy of security to get him to let certain operatives, CIA operatives, into the country. All right. Which he's gonna tell you there's like tens of thousands, all right, of CIA operatives in Kazakhstan now. And that's why Russia had to deploy, you know, them troops, because this is a proxy military operating in Kazakhstan. This is not, all right, just regular citizens that are fighting against the government, that are mad, that are protesting, you know, like you see these Edomites over here protesting on the Capitol of DC or in Virginia or in Seattle. No, no, no. These are CIA operatives, trained militants and mercenaries. All right. And what they're doing, they're destabilizing Kazakhstan for the fact that Russia got to scramble and try to bring stability back to their government, while America and NATO still stockpile weapons in Ukraine. You see, this is how America gets down. You see, America's a very shiesty government in how it operates, man. You know, and all they need is get a few people on the inside to sell out, and they can uh, pretty much smuggle these CIA operatives into the country. And once they get in, they can make a cover story, all right, and say, yeah, the you know, the government, you know, has done very poorly with managing the economy. The people are in uproar, you know. But he's gonna go into it some more. But just to get, you know, everyone up to speed, this is what's happening. All right, is all war strategy. You see, it's all war strategy leading up to the big war, man. If a brother can put Proverbs chapter 6, verse 16 through 19.
Folks, this was organized with outside powers, with outside help. A lot of people say that this is a Russian false flag, so Russia can take over Kazakhstan, but nobody's presented evidence of this either. I think that this was a move by NATO to distract Russia from Ukraine, to prevent them from invading Ukraine. That's my opinion. But we'll have to find out in the coming days and weeks. So the situation mostly is under control. There still is gun battles going on in Kazakhstan for the control of that country. But when these protests broke out, folks, this was highly organized, and they were hitting military installations. They were hitting government buildings. They were doing this all across Kazakhstan at the same time. So this was not just an organic revolution. These people had automatic weapons. Like I said, over 800 Kazakhstan police have been wounded. Over 18 has been killed. 3 police officers or security personnel were beheaded in Kazakhstan. And that's the MO, the modus operandi of Islamic extremists. They like to behead their victims. They like to cut their heads off and hold their heads up and show it for all the news media. So that is what has happened in Kazakhstan. Now we have a situation ongoing in Russia. I don't know how many people have seen the latest speech by Jens Stoltenberg, which is the NATO chief. And basically, he had almost an hour-long interview yesterday, basically stating that they're not going to give.
So, you know, as he said this was not, you know, this was a highly organized, you know, attack. You know, the president of Kazakhstan, his house was burnt down. All right. You had, those militants, striking all these different government facilities. All right. This was, a strategic, attack in Kazakhstan. All right. And we know for sure that the CIA, all right, America CIA, Britain's MI6, all right, and NATO, you know, had something to do with that, man. All right, whether it was training, all right, funding, because it's something how these Islamic, all right, extremists, how they able to travel everywhere America go. All right, everywhere that America has conflict, that they're able to just pop up. Nigga got a Twitter account, Instagram story, saying we did it. You see, let you know it's wartime propaganda, man. All right, it's all this is wartime propaganda. Now when you go to Proverbs 6:16, this is brother Yashima tribe of Judah. It said, "These 6 things doth the Lord Yahweh Shemau shall hate. Yeah, 7 are abomination unto him." And it says, "A proud look, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood." And this is how America gets down, because people actually die. All right, just for America, you know, to forward their agenda or forward, a war strategy. Civilians die. 800 officers wounded. 20 killed, 3 beheaded. You see, and you think the American military give a damn about that? The American government give a damn about that, man? You know, people die with Americans' war propaganda, man. Just so they can paint a particular picture to the public. People actually die. you know, and it says, "And heart that devises wicked imagination, feet that be swift and run into mischief," man. All right. And this American military, all right, is all throughout the earth running to mischief, man. Constantly causing uproars and civil wars and civil unrest, all right, in all these different nations, man. Verse 19, it says, "A false witness that speaketh lies through his media, through his propaganda, and he that soweth discord among brethren." Yeah, he has all these nations in fight, man. Elamites fighting against Elamites, Ishmaelites fighting against Ishmaelites. Moab, you got South Korea, North Korea, Moabites fighting against Moabites, man. It's this guy. He causes these divisions and conflicts, man. All right. What's that in Revelation 6:3? My brother can post it, and then brother can post Isaiah 46, verse 9 and 10. All right. This is how this man get down, and that's why all these missiles are coming over here, man. Because this is the source, all right, of the conflict that we see in the earth as America, man. And those missiles are going to remove the source of the problem, man. And these nations going to come to that conclusion, all right? We'll come to a point where every nation going to come to a conclusion that America is the root problem of all the conflicts in the earth, man. Well, I'm gonna let a little bit of this play now. He's gonna go into the NATO, all right, chief Stalinberg. I believe that's his name. I'm gonna wind a little bit so he'll say his name. But pretty much he addressing. They trying to, they just trying to handle Russia like like they some little chumps, man. They just be NATO and America just be trying to chump Russia off. So we know where it lead to, man. All right. This is on the brother Yashima tribe of Judah. And it says, and there went out another horse that was red, and power was given unto it, that given unto him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth. And this is Esau, Edom, his power structure. All right. This beast system was created to take peace from the earth, man. You know, that's why this man's rulership consists of nothing but what? War. All right. Nothing but war. As it says in I believe it's Psalms. Let me see. I believe it's let me get it. Yep. Psalm 140 verses 1 and 2, you know, and it says, and that they should kill one another, and there was given unto him a great sword. All right, because you look at these Edomites within their power structure, you know, they've always, you know, promoted war in the earth, even with each other. You know, you got these different world wars, World War I and II. These were Edomites, you know, pretty much fighting over the direction, you know, that they wanted to go forward within, you know, their kingdom, man. All right, just like this one, man. Because I'm gonna let this play, but pretty much what you got between Russia and America, all throughout the earth. You know, when I'm gonna play the video afterwards, and it kind of shows you that America pushes democracy and Russia pushes communism. And at the end of the day, it's just two different ideologies. And what they try to do is push these ideologies on these other, you know, on these other nations in the earth. And if a nation takes on communism, then that'll make them pro-Russia, which will give, you know, Russia access, you know, to that nation, to the assets of that nation. You know, the military deals and pacts, and you know, and then if a nation takes on democracy, well, now America has access to that nation, you know, to make military deals and, you know, weapons deals and particular things. So what you see with Russia and America is, you know, two different ideologies that's constantly clashing throughout the earth, you know. Now, let me go back to the video. And he's gonna mention what what the NATO chief pretty much, you know, said to Russia.
Or security personnel were beheaded in Kazakhstan, and that's the MO, the modus operandi of Islamic extremists. They like to behead their victims. They like to cut their heads off and hold their heads up and show it for all the news media. So that is what has happened in Kazakhstan. Now we have a situation ongoing in Russia. I don't know how many people have seen the latest speech by Jens Stoltenberg, which is the NATO chief. And basically, he had almost an hour-long interview yesterday, basically stating that they're not going to give Russia any concessions in these upcoming peace talks. So I'm going to state this again. If there is not a miracle, if there is not a peace treaty worked out or some kind of security agreements worked out with Russia in the next coming 5 days, folks, I do believe that we are going to war. NATO is going to war with Russia, because Russia said if they do not get written guarantees of some kind of peace agreement with NATO, withdrawing troops and other things that was specified in a hand-delivered document, that they're going to take matters in their own hands and they're going to do it militarily. So I don't think Russia is bluffing. I don't think President Putin is bluffing. I do think that they're going to act. and I guess they're going to call NATO's bluff. Hopefully, if this war does break out, it will be contained in Ukraine. This will not spread across the world, but anything can happen, folks. We are living in 2022, and anything is possible. It all depends if NATO responds. If NATO attacks Russian troops, then
well, they do not want this war, boy. It got to happen. You see, he said, "Unless it's a miracle." You see, hey, these Edomites that really know what's going on, they know how severe these conflicts can get, man. You know, he's hoping that it's contained in Ukraine. No, but then pay attention to what he's finna say next. All right, if NATO attack Russia, pay attention to what he's gonna say next. All right.
then every NATO base around the world will become a target. Two, and anything is possible. It all depends if NATO responds. If NATO attacks Russian troops, then every NATO base around the world will become a target. Our aircraft carriers will become a target. Germany, France, Italy, Spain, all the NATO countries will become a target of Russian missiles. The United States of American homeland will become a target of Russian missiles if NATO gets involved, if NATO starts killing Russians. So we'll have to see how this unfolds. Like I said, we're hoping for peace. We're hoping that cooler heads will prevail in the situation and that some kind of peace agreement will be worked out with Russia and NATO playing this or de-escalating the situation. But so far, folks, I don't know. Hal Turner radio show had a live broadcast last night. I only was able to catch the last 20 minutes, but from the information Hal Turner is getting, he said that this is inevitable. There will be a war. He said that we have about 2 to 3 days to get prepared for a major war with Russia. From his information, I'm trying to get a hold of the original broadcast, but for some reason, Hal Turner's, there is no more news on Hal Turner. So I don't know if the government took his channel down or all his articles are off now. You can't access any articles on Hal Turner's radio show. But if I can get a hold of that broadcast, I will leave a link to it later on. So a lot of terrible news going on around the world, with prepper, survivalist YouTube channels, people dying left and right now, folks. It's up to, this is like up to 5 or 6, and it's a real shock. Chicken Prepper was on our channel just a few days ago, and Urban Grandpa Prepper, he was doing live chats last week, folks, and all of a sudden they're dead. That is why it is so important. A lot of people criticize me for talking about flat earth or not talking about flat earth, folks, it doesn't matter what you believe about flat earth, whether Jesus was white or black, had long hair, short hair, black hair, dark skin. None of that matters.
Yeah, that's the end of that guy. He's gonna go on. I'm gonna bring Jesus out. All right. I'm scared as hell. Hey, because it's here, man. All right, it's here. And their bad news, our good news, man. This is what we need. But let me cue this other video up real quick. Get some new preset. So dealing with this whole, Kazakhstan, all right, conflict, all right, it's just nothing but another stepping stone, all right, to this major war, all right, another stepping stone to this major war, all right. Now this from the brother GMS Shema Yum Yum. It says a froward man sold of strife, all right, and they whisperers separated chief friends. Yeah, and that's Esau Edom is a big example of that, through how he plays both sides, man, how he gets, these countries, because he'll start a rumor with his media, you know, he'll have, it'll be men, leaders of these different countries that have good relations, but Esau started a rumor of betrayal or, make it seem as if this guy said that, and now you have this division. Because once you have leaders, all leaders have followers. And when you create a division between leaders, that creates a schism, within that government where you have some people loyal to this guy, some people loyal to this, to this person, and what does it create? All right. Separated friends, man, mischief, man. All right. This is another one from the brother GMS Shema Yum. A violent man enticing his neighbor and leading him into the way that is not good. Yeah, man. You know, Following Esau Edom leads into some type of war, some type of conflict, man. You know, like I said, man, you have, people that's loyal to the president of the nation, people that's loyal to the general, people that's loyal to the secretary of state, or whatever position, you know, the religious, leader, supreme religious leader of this nation. All these leaders have their followings, and Esau creates schism between these leaders. All right, and it leads into a way that's not good, man. Chaos. All right. Now this the brother, Yashima tribe of Judah. This is Isaiah 46:9. It said, "Remember the former things of old, for I am the Most High, and there is none else. I am the Most High, there is none like me." All right. Verse verse 10. It says, declaring the end from the beginning and from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, I will do all my pleasure. And that's why World War III, these people that's, following these events, all right, surrounding these major powers, all right, that's in conflict, they telling you, look, war is inevitable. You see? Like that guy, Hal Turner, which it do seem like Esau done took down, you know, his channels, because I think, yeah, I'm trying to look at it, but he got a few things. I might have to do a screen recording. He got a few things, because he got, rumored that Biden and Harris have been evacuated to Area 51, you know. Yeah, he got a few things I might can read. But at the end of the day, what we're seeing is it, because you're gonna deny for so long, but then you just gotta admit what it is, and all these different, geopolitical analysts are coming up with the same conclusion that war is inevitable, man. But this is just how about Shemal Shah doing his pleasure. You see, showing you that nothing can resist his will. No one can resist his will, man. All right, and this is just how these people get down. Now, this is Yashima tribe of Judah, Psalms 141. All right. It says, deliver me, O Lord, from the evil man, preserve me from the violent man, who's just Esau Edom, which imagine mischiefs in their heart, which is in their mind. Continually are they gathered together for war, man. This is all this man does within his rulership, is gather for war. All right. This is all this man does, man. You see? Let's get yep. This is Proverbs 19:21. Another from Brother Yashima, tribe of Judah. It said, there are many devices in a man's heart, nevertheless the counsel of the Lord, you see, Yahweh Shema Shai, they shall stand. And according to the counsel, all right, of the Lord, which is contained in the scriptures, all right, these nations gonna go to war, man. All right, gonna be a major conflict. It's gonna go way past Ukraine. You see, America, like he said, he said, look, if NATO attack Russia, they're gonna make every NATO base in the earth, all right, a target. That's gonna make every European nation, all right, a target, and that's gonna make the homeland of America a target. And Russia got plenty of missiles they're gonna reach over here. China got plenty of missiles they can reach over here. You see? And EU, all right, they gonna turn. That's why you seen their French politician pretty much made the statement like we'll be better off side with Russia, man. All right, because the EU not gonna be able to hold up to a Russian onslaught. All right, the EU not gonna be able to hold up. So they like, well, hell, it'd be better off, all right, if we join Russia, because we got a deal. You know, we next door. All right. Like we talk about how, you know, missiles can get here in 30 minutes. Those hypersonic missiles can get to America in 30 minutes. Well, how fast you think it'll get from Russia to the French, man? You know? You're talking about 7-8 minutes, man. All right? And the French, they're not dumb. The EU nation not dumb. You know? That's why they don't poke at Russia. It'd be America with that shit, man. But it's all gonna lead to the destruction of America, man. All right. Now this is from the brother Nabala, Virginia Island, Straight Gate, 1 Thessalonians 5:4. But ye brethren are not in darkness, that they should overtake you as a thief. Yeah, because we know what it is, man. All right, we know exactly what it is according to the scriptures, man. You see, we know, all right, the end game. We know war is inevitable, man. It has to happen. All right, it's part of the script. Because when you read, if a brother can post Revelation 11:15, because it got to happen, man, in order for this to happen. You know, this is the brother chosen vessel. All right. This is Ecclesiastes 12:3. It said, there can no good come to him that is always occupied in evil, nor to him that giveth no alms. Esau, Edom is always occupied in some type of evil, man. You know, and that's why the result is always war and chaos, man. You know, the result is always war, all right, and chaos, man. You know, let's get this real quick.
To strike a definitive blow against the Soviet Union. With the declaration of the Reagan Doctrine.
I have a challenge for all of you. Go to every computer in your house, your mom's, your dad's, your sister, your brother's computer, and install Honey. Wait, Mom, before you check out.
The flow of weapons and money to the Mujahideen increases exponentially. Free of the restraint of having to support the movement covertly, the CIA no longer has to limit its efforts by purchasing Soviet-made weapons. Reagan's proclamation allows the U.S. now to arm the Mujahideen with more modern and far more capable weapons. For years, the Soviet Air Force... The year prior... The year prior, Nur Muhammad Takari had seized.
Alright, so like had to cue that video up. But yep, so let's get this from Revelation 11:15. It says, this from Bayan Yasha Allah. It says, and the seven angels sounded, and there was great voices in heaven saying, the kingdoms of this world are become the kingdom of our Lord, all right, and of his anointed, and he shall reign forever and ever. So this is the result of World War III. Yahweh Shai conquering the earth in righteousness, man. You know, and this is why we fully understand that these things have to happen, man. You know, it's necessary. All right. Now, what I'm gonna play next is pretty much it's gonna go with that conflict in Afghanistan, because that conflict in Afghanistan, that's where you get the invention, all right, of the Al Qaeda. You know, you get the Taliban, all right, which, you know, Esau's media has pushed them to be what, man, the boogeymen of the earth. But who is they funded and started by, man? All right, American CIA. You know, that devil Ronald Reagan, he's responsible for a lot of wickedness, man. From the drugs, the crack epidemic, all right, to starting these terrorist organizations. You know, their Reagan cabinet did a lot of wickedness, man. You know, him and Daddy Bush, man. You know, all right, which they was all what funded and sponsored by who? The elites, man. So let's get that.
1979, the world casts a wary eye towards Afghanistan. The year prior, Nur Muhammad Takari had seized power and installed a communist government, much to the Soviet Union's pleasure. However, Takari's government has turned brutally oppressive with mass executions and extrajudicial arrests. The move sparks an insurgency, widely labeled as the Afghan Mujahideen. While the same name has a religious significance, the truth is the rebel forces are split along the ideological lines, with some practicing hardcore fundamentalism and others embracing secularism. They are united, however, in their wish to overthrow the Takari regime. In April, Nur Muhammad Takari is removed from power forcefully and replaced with Hafizullah Amin a few months later in September. At first, Amin tries to quell the growing rebellion with friendly overtures, but his security forces disappear thousands of people behind the scenes. The abuses only increase as time goes on, and the rebellion festers. Amin is so unpopular that the Soviet Union begins to suspect he's a CIA plant, purposefully placed in power in order to collapse the Afghan communist government. On December 25, 1979, the Soviet Union.
So real quick, what you had a pro-Russian, you know, leader, you know, in Afghanistan, and he was ousted, and you had, all right, pretty much this pro-American leader put in power. And what you had was what, a rebellion against, all right, this leadership. And what America did, they put a guy in there that was so bad that it started a rebellion, which America CIA funded, all right, this rebellion. That's what they do. They fund, all right, these rebellions amongst, all right, these other nations. You know, they find them a good leader, a good military general, you know, and what they do, all right, they start funding him with weapons and training, all right, to go against these governments to keep it unstable. All right.
Invades Afghanistan. Its goal is simple: remove Amin from power and establish a legitimate communist government. 2 days later, Soviet special forces locate and assassinate Amin. The war, if it can be called that, should be over in a matter of months. It would last 10 years. The United States is initially caught off guard by the Soviet Union invasion, Its intelligence efforts in the region have been to date an almost complete failure. The CIA and other intelligence agencies have been largely focused on Central and South America due to communism paranoia in the effort to keep the perceived threat out of America's own backyard. To date, the CIA has funneled $500,000 worth of medical and non-lethal aid to the Mujahideen, but not supported the insurgency in any significant way. Soviet fears of American intervention in Afghanistan are hilariously overblown, but that will soon change. Discussions about Soviet interventionism in Afghanistan have been taking place for months, though nobody suspected a full-blown invasion was truly imminent. America has a very real interest in making the Afghan situation difficult for the Soviets, but differ on how important it truly is. For some, Afghanistan is a chance to pay back the Soviet Union for its interference in Vietnam, a war that cost the U.S. dearly in manpower and capital. Others fear that increasing aid to the Mujahideen would only encourage the Soviets to more directly intervene. An April 5th memo by National Intelligence Officer Arnold Horlich lays out the stakes. Covert action would raise the cost to the Soviets and inflame Muslim opinion against them in many countries. The risk is that a substantial U.S. covert aid program could raise the stakes and induce the Soviets to intervene more directly and vigorously than otherwise intended. Preliminary meetings with the Mujahideen leadership have already been undertaken, but still the U.S. has played a cautious hand in Afghanistan. The Soviet invasion changes all of that. Texas Democrat Congressman Charlie Wilson watches the invasion take place from a hot tub in Las Vegas. A playboy at heart, Wilson nonetheless is shocked at the brutality of Soviet bombing of Afghan civilians and vows to do something to help the Afghan people. With the best of intentions, he sets out to build a Washington coalition with one purpose: push for the direct military support of the Mujahideen in Afghanistan. Seeing an opportunity for payback and to force the Soviet Union to lose its focus in Africa, the program to aid the Mujahideen, now codenamed Operation Cyclone, is approved. At first, Operation Cyclone aims to keep U.S. involvement in the war within the realm of plausible deniability. To this effect, the program initially focuses on providing training and logistical support to the Mujahideen, as well as equipping them with Soviet-made weapons purchased by the CIA covertly. With Iran on one side, though, and the Soviets directly north, this leaves the U.S. with only Pakistan as a route into the country. This is a difficult position for the U.S., as Pakistan's recent development of nuclear weapons has put a severe strain between the two nations. In order to improve relations, it's decided that Pakistan would be granted near full control over the dissemination of American aid to the Mujahideen. Some within the CIA, State Department, and other agencies express concern over the decision, as Pakistan clearly favors the more fundamentalist forces inside Afghanistan itself. Their concerns are ignored, with inevitable disastrous future consequences. In order to coordinate the influx of America's funding, equipment, and weapons, Pakistan's President Mohammad Zia-ul-Haq turns to the Inter-Services Intelligence Agency, at the time a Pakistani intelligence agency struggling for legitimacy. The massive responsibility of coordinating millions of dollars in U.S. aid, however, skyrockets the agency's legitimacy, cementing it as an instrument of power in Pakistan for
and this is where the majority, all right, of tax dollars are going. So what you had, all right, America's only entryway into Afghanistan, was through Pakistan, and that's why, America had to work close, with Pakistan, and Pakistan is the pretty much the home base of the creation of the Taliban. All right. Now, I say following it, a lot of stuff is all over the place, but we just gonna keep it, simple as possible. But so America has to work, with Pakistan, all right, to do what, man? To try to control Afghanistan. That's where, they would train the soldiers. A lot of money would go to Pakistan, and then it will go into Afghanistan. So they're just using, Pakistan as the middleman to try to keep America out of the public sight. If all else fails, they can just blame Pakistan. That's how America do. It's like it's like pretty much America creates these scapegoats in case everything, in case something, in case the shit turn into a shit show. All right, for lack of better words. So let's keep watching. But this is how the government gets down, man.
decades to come. This too would eventually be a mistake. Massive refugee camps are set up along the Pakistan border, and the United States contributes millions of dollars in humanitarian.
I discovered the 8 immortal kings of Samaria lived a total of 241,200 years. I've discovered
humanitarian aid to these camps. Sensing an opportunity, however, hardline fundamentalist clerics from Saudi Arabia and other Muslim nations converge on the camps, slowly indoctrinating tens of thousands of young Afghan men into religious fundamentalism. One of these Saudi holy men bears the name Osama bin Laden, whose family owns a construction firm worth millions of dollars and has close ties to the Saudi government. Despite early warning signs that bin Laden and others are preaching a dangerous fundamentalist form of Islam to vulnerable young men who will soon be armed to the teeth, the United States ignores these warnings and continues on with almost no oversight of Pakistan's dissemination of U.S. aid. Even worse, the U.S. now directly helps spread the message of radical Islam, believing it to be a valuable recruitment tool. Right here in America, the CIA enlists Egyptian double agent Ali Abdul Saud Muhammad and sends him to recruit American Muslims to fight in Afghanistan. Operating out of the Kifa Refugee Center in Brooklyn, Muhammad preaches a fiery message of holy war to impressionable youths, bolstering the ranks of the Mujahideen. Around the world, the CIA encourages similar recruitment efforts, helping funnel tens of thousands of volunteer fighters to Pakistan. Muhammad would eventually make his way to Pakistan as well, where he would use his U.S. Army training to instruct both Ayman al-Zawahiri, the founder of Egyptian Islamic Jihad, and Osama bin Laden. Inside Afghanistan, the grinding war against the Soviet occupation continues on. American aid is now supplemented by the British, Saudi Arabia, and even China, whose own relations with the Soviet Union have seriously deteriorated. The British, leading the second greatest effort after the Americans, have thrown much of their support behind Ahmad Shah Massoud. Massoud is a brilliant guerrilla commander, instrumental in the defeat of several Soviet offensives, and is a growing national hero to the Afghan people. However, his fearsome militia is increasingly being infiltrated by hardline fundamentalists. While Massoud himself is a moderate, he has no choice but to accept the troops available to him. The MI6 thus arms Massoud's militia with thousands of rifles, mines, explosives, radios, and 50 missile launchers with 300 missiles. The British even used the SAS to train Massoud's militia directly. One thing is becoming clear, though. Moderate voices within the Afghan resistance are becoming increasingly scarce. Pakistan and America may be allied in their wish to see the Soviets evicted from Afghanistan, but their long-term vision for the nation differs greatly. For one, America doesn't have one. It's not even remotely invested in the long-term state of Afghanistan, even as it becomes increasingly clear the Soviet Union can't maintain this invasion forever. This leaves the door wide open for Pakistan to shape the future of Afghanistan as it sees fit. For starters, it views the nation as a vital buffer between itself and Iran. It also needs a future Afghanistan that will not become a close U.S. ally. Pakistan fears that the United States, who does not look favorably on Pakistan after its development of nuclear weapons, might use Afghanistan as a staging ground for its own invasion in a bid to strip Pakistan of nuclear arms. Thus, it must make sure that the future Afghanistan is one hostile to U.S. interests. Luckily, the indoctrination of tens of thousands of Afghan youths and volunteer mujahideen by extremist clerics provides the opportunity they need. The ISI works busily to build strong relationships with the most fundamentalist of militias, funneling American weapons and money to them directly while choking off moderate forces. Pakistan's not particularly invested in the growing fundamentalist Islamic movement within the Mujahideen, but the movement proves to be a powerful binding force and the promise of a strong future government for the nation, which will be greatly indebted to Pakistan, of course. Even as warnings of rising fundamentalism continue to rise, they are ignored. And in 1985, President Ronald Reagan ends all pretenses by announcing America's global support of anti-Soviet resistance movements. Even as much as a few years ago, this would have been impossible and tantamount to a declaration of war against the Soviet Union, but news back home and in the USSR are not good. The country is experiencing increasing political unrest, and the war in Afghanistan, as well as the Soviet support for communist guerrilla movements around the world, are straining the Soviet economy. Reagan senses an opportunity to strike a definitive blow against the Soviet Union. With the declaration of the Reagan Doctrine, the flow of weapons and money to the Mujahideen increases exponentially. Free of the restraint of having to support the movement covertly, the CIA no longer has to limit its efforts by purchasing Soviet-made weapons. Reagan's proclamation allows the US now to arm the Mujahideen with more modern and far more capable weapons. For years, the Soviet Air Forces wreaked havoc against the Mujahideen. Soviet Hind attack helicopters have been particularly deadly opponents, hunting down and annihilating Mujahideen forces even in their traditional safe zones high up in the mountains. Starting in 1985, the U.S. arms the Mujahideen with the Stinger shoulder-fired surface-to-air missile system, and almost immediately Soviet aircraft losses skyrocket. The effectiveness of the weapon would be hotly debated for decades to come, but one thing's for sure. After its introduction in Afghanistan, the Soviet Air Force no longer operated as brazenly as it had before. This allows the Mujahideen to make serious inroads in its fight against the Soviets. It's only with the introduction of the Stinger to the Mujahideen and the reports of mounting Soviet aircraft losses that America begins to show some concern over its to-date completely unchecked tidal wave of money and weapons to Afghanistan. There are growing worries that the Stingers will eventually make their way out of the country and be used to shoot down civilian or military aircraft, perhaps even American ones. For the first time, the U.S. takes note of the rising wave of dangerous fundamentalism against the Mujahideen, though ultimately America continues to leave Pakistan in charge of who receives what.
So as you can see, all right, pretty much Reagan, all right, just pretty much announced, that they was going to be against, all Soviet, militants, all right, that was operating in Afghanistan and anywhere in the world. So what did you see? You see the military equipment of these, what they call extremists, Islamic extremists, be more modified to the point where they can shoot down Russian, all right, aircrafts, man. This is what America has been doing in that region. Like, you see all the weaponry of all these militants that you see on TV. They show the news where all of them got AKs and they shooting, rocket launchers, and they got grenade launchers, and they got this and they got that. That was all sponsored by America, man. Tax dollars. All right. And when you go to work and you get your check and it's $250, $300 taken out of it, well, that's going towards buying that equipment, man. You see, this is the government in which we operate in, man, in which we dwell in. The wickedness of this man's government. All right. So their main thing is to always keep Russia occupied in some type of war. And this was like in '85. So when you go to the collapse of the USSR, that's because Russia was so occupied in trying to fight in Afghanistan. You see, America is all about keeping you occupied, all right, with these different little militants, all right? America doesn't have to use their troops, to keep another nation occupied, with war. They can just fund, all right, the civilians, they can just create a rebellion and fund it, and it'll keep, all right, these different militaries occupied and try to quell the rebellion, while the CIA just funnels money and weapons, all right, to the rebellion. So pretty much you're fighting, these local troops and mercenaries, but they're funded, all right, by the richest country in the world. You see that? They don't never run out of money. When have you seen terrorists run out of money? All right. When have they ran out of bullets? When have they ran out of military equipment or ability to travel and to mobilize? You'll never see it because it's funded, all right, by the great America, man. And say in Pakistan, it was just a middleman. Even with Pakistan, they were dealing with America, but they knew that, once America got what it wanted, it'll flip on them. So Pakistan is trying to play both sides. America, for sure, playing every side. You see? And Russia is just being depleted of funding, all right, and taking losses, you know, to their military equipment, to their military personnel. All right, because of what America is doing, man. You see, and this how these people get out. What's that in Let's get that another one song. I won't say it's one. Let's get some. Let's get Psalms 144 and Psalms 144 verse 7 and 8. Yep. Because this was leading up to. So what we seeing in Kazakhstan, in Kazakhstan, what we're seeing in Kazakhstan is the same thing, you know, they were doing in Afghanistan. All right, and that's to keep Russia occupied, you know, with fighting. All right, these American, all right, funded militants. You see, as America in the background does what they really want to do. Now this is GMS Shemai Yum Yum. This is Isaiah 13:17 said, "Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it." Yeah, because Russia is gonna get to the point, all right, where they're gonna stop playing all these games and running around in circles with these little militants, and they're gonna start hitting, you know, EU, NATO, and American targets, man. You know, because these little wars that America, you know, constantly starts in these conflicts, they'll never end. You see, they'll never end. All right. And the only way you're gonna deal with it, you gotta deal with the source of the problem, man. That's America. You see? That's another one from the brother Yashima tribe of Judah. It's Psalms 144:7. It says, "Send thy hand from above, rid me, deliver me out of great waters, from the hand of strange children." See, we need Yahweh Shai to intervene. You see? We in all this madness, confusion, chaos, and war. That's why we need Yahweh Shai, you know, to intervene. Right, verse 8, it says, "Whose mouth speaketh vanity, and their right hand is a right hand of falsehood." Yeah, because your right hand is supposed to be, you know, a place of honor. You know, your government, your politicians, your lawmakers, your judges, all right, your medical. You know, these are supposed to be places of honor, but in this man's society, they're places of falsehood, man. You know, there's always some type of cover up, some type of this, some type of that. He always has something going on, man. Some type of deception going on in the earth, man. All right. So I'm gonna let these last few minutes play, and then we'll get a couple more priests.
Inevitably, the Soviet Union is forced to limp out of Afghanistan in 1989, suffering over 14,000 dead and 50,000 wounded. The war is over, the Mujahideen successful. Yet, even as moderates like Ahmad Shah Massoud are being forced into the peripheries of post-Soviet Afghanistan, the only concern that the United States shows in what happens next is the retrieval of the Stinger missile units provided to the Mujahideen. In what would become the single most baffling foreign policy decision of the 20th century history, President Ronald Reagan and successor H.W. Bush show absolutely no interest in the shaping of future Afghanistan. Even as civil war breaks out between extremist fundamentalists and the vastly outnumbered moderates, the United States pays no attention. With the direct aid and support of Pakistan, extremist forces take over most of the country, leaving what has become the moderate United Islamic Front for the Salvation of Afghanistan, or Northern Alliance, in control of only 5 to 10% of the nation. With the formation of the Taliban government, Pakistan has achieved its strategic goals in the nation, all on America's dime. On September 9, 2001, moderate leader and national hero Ahmad Shah Massoud, once backed directly by MI6, is assassinated by the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, who both fear that in their coming attack against America and the US's inevitable response, Massoud would be installed as a popular leader to reunite the nation against the Taliban. Now, go watch How I Survived an Actual Military War Zone, or click this other video instead.
So pretty much, after America got Russia out of there, made Russia retreat, Russia counted their losses and got out of there. America just left.
The strength of a nation's currency is based on the strength of that nation's economy. And the American
All right, and pretty much America just left. They left all that military equipment there. They left them people to go to war with each other. Taliban, Al Qaeda. You see? So what we seen with the whole 9/11 situation, there was an excuse for America to go back in there, all right, and try to stabilize Afghanistan under American, all right, rule, man. That's why they had to create an excuse to go back over there. See, America does a lot of things, and they don't have, they don't think about the trickle effect. You see, America will do some shit, get what they want to accomplish, and just be like, how you say, come back over here, do their thing, chill, be in safety. Why it's an uproar that they done left over there, man. And then they had to do something, so then they create another, they create a false flag, and then they'll go back to their area, to try to somewhat organize some things. And the only reason America tries to organize particular things or try to quell particular things, just so it won't be no big backlash, all right, for America, man. But this is a hell of a government, man. All right. Yeah, that's the we ended with this one in Jeremiah. Let's get this in Jeremiah. I'll say. Let's get Jeremiah chapter 50, 14 and 15. Yeah, Jeremiah 50, 14 and 15. We ended there. All right. Goddamn American government. But she's fully exposed now. If you still, all right, then you gotta see when you go vote, this is the madness, that you're approving of. All right. Jake in the spirit talking about the lesser of the two evils. No, man, it's the same evil. All right. It's the same damn evil. All of it is linked together. All right. Because as you can see, the foreign policy don't change. The presidents change, but the foreign policies don't change. All right. So-called war on terror doesn't change. You see, the presidents change. So Jake got this spirit of he just voting for the lesser evils. You see, because all Jake know is what's going on in America, what Trump said on the tweet, some simple silly shit like that. But Jake don't know what's going on, what the American government is doing in the earth, man. This is Yashima tribe of Judah, Jeremiah 50 and 14. It said, put yourselves in array against Babylon round about, all ye that bend the bow. Shoot at her, spare no arrows, for she have sinned against the Lord Yahweh by Shema Shai. So this is what we're watching the build up to all these nations to put themselves in array, which is in the battle formation against America, man. All right, because America is the problem. All right, it's the source of conflict in the earth is America, man. And then the sin, the America also the source of anti-Messiah behavior in the earth, man. And we're watching the judgment build up. All right, the Most High through Yahweh Shai is creating the circumstances that will have these nations to spare no arrows, which is no nuclear missiles on America. It says, shout against her round about. She have given her hand, her foundations are fallen, her walls are thrown down, for it is the vengeance of the Lord. Yeah, America gonna be defenseless against this onslaught. It says, take vengeance upon her as she have done, do unto her. Yeah, so all this madness that America has done in the earth, it's going to be done unto her, man. You know? And how about Shema Shai is going to balance this thing out, man? All the wickedness of America is going to be balanced out with this destruction, man. That's why it's so much destruction coming here, man. You know, that's just all the energy America has pushed out in the earth, you know, coming back at one time, man. And it's going to lead to all these missiles hitting this place and turn it to a lake of fire. All right. And afterwards, it will be a desert, you know, where you won't even be able to tell where was what, man. All right. So that's the point, you know, just want to bring that out. You know, I know we've been hearing a lot of talk about, you know, Kazakhstan with what's been going on over there. But at the end of the day, all right, it's just another step to war, man. All right. So Lord will you was edified to the next time I say Shalom. Kwam Yashala, a Bible ball, DTA soon. Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai. Call Allah Yahweh Bashim Al Shai.